This Army-Navy Game 2024 special edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into a special episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. As Justin is pointing out, guys, this is not NASCAR. JK, love it, here for it. Hoping I can tail some of these because if you're listening, this is the Army-Navy special of this show, as you both know, or as most of you know, both of us have been in the military. Cody served in the Navy. I am currently in the Army. So therefore, this game, Cody, means a little something special to both of us.
It does, Rod. This is it's always a fun game. You know, it sort of sits alone on Saturday this weekend, and everybody gets to enjoy it. And then it's obviously extra special to us because we served in each respective branch. Even more fun because we get to have the little rivalry, like not planned, obviously. We're just two guys, and it happened to work out that way. So, it is great, and it's all. Like, this game seems to deliver to be just such a great game time and time again. And I expect the same thing this weekend, and I'm pretty excited to bet on it.
I look, as somebody who has watched all of this unfold over the course of the season, I am because you could throw everything out the window as far as this is concerned. Records, how they perform. It doesn't even matter at this point because when you go into this game, everybody knows what's on the line. And right now the Commander-in-Chief trophy is on the line, right? Because obviously if Army wins, they get it. If Navy wins, they end up getting it because everybody beat Air Force this year. So Air Force not even in the running. So this is not even a split. This is a straight up win of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. So that is what at stake. Doesn't matter that Army just is coming off of their first conference championship in God knows how long. And then the fact that they were in the first year in the Atlantic Conference and ended up winning the whole damn thing where, you know, Navy's been in there and they didn't win it. But that's okay because I'm telling you right now, this is, it doesn't matter. None of it matters.
It doesn't, because this is the only one that really matters, Rob.
Yep.
And we've seen before. I mean, it doesn't matter if one team's 10-3 and one team's 3-10, like, or whatever the case is. Like, it ends up being a close game a majority of the time. There's been some blowouts in the past history, of course, on both sides. But, in a general sense, it's usually a tough game. Maybe the score gets out of hand at the end. But, I would expect this to be a pretty grinded out game. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and, it's funny because the whole course of the entire season, the only thing out of Jeff Monken's lips, which is the head coach of the Army squad, is beat Navy. That's it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he didn't care if he won a championship. Obviously he cared, but this doesn't matter because the only thing that you are built to do if you are an Army cadet is beat Navy. And that is what the whole thing. And it doesn't matter if you won a championship. Like I said, if you don't beat Navy, then none of it matters. The whole season's a loss because the only game that really truly matters is this Navy game. So happy to be breaking it down for you as perspective. By the way, Cody, you look fantastic. You are wearing your Digicamis from back in the day.
I didn't really, if we're gonna a little behind the scenes, I didn't wear this uniform very much. I was part of the Navy Seabees, which is the construction corps for the Navy, and we actually wore the green digital. Well, we started when I was in, we wore the old like Army BDUs originally. Then we switched to the green digital. So we had these nice blue digital uniforms, digital camo. But I didn't wear these ones much. But I found this one. I won't stand up, Rod, but I at least got 2 buttons on it buttoned. So it looks at the top like it maybe still fits. Not so much in the gut area anymore. But hey, I've been out for a couple of years, so.
Hey, you look snazzy, and you don't have to pass another PT test, so it's all good. All right, we'll start talking up this game in a second, but let me tell you about the SGPN app. Download it now. I'll wait. I'm done waiting. You guys, you can push pause and download it if you want. It's completely free, and you got easy access to not just this show, but all the shows up and down the network. Old Fashioned Fantasy Football is out there, and then the Propcast with my buddy Moonoff is out there as well, plus the main show, and you get all of our picks pages. It's completely free. Download it wherever you get your apps, and I highly suggest you do so because, you want to know where everything's at all at once. So, all right, like Cody said, we've both been in. I am currently serving. I'm still in the National Guard. I did serve 10 years of active duty. Took me all over the world, and then I ended up getting out for 9 years and pursuing a civilian life. And then I realized, well, I just had 10 years. I might as well finish off the last 10. So enlisted in the National Guard to finish it off. And listen, I'm at 20 now. So I'm on borrowed time, kids.
What are you waiting for, Rod?
It's funny because I say the same thing. And maybe if I was active duty, I'd feel a little bit different because I'd be like, let's go. But National Guard, it's a little less commitment. So it's not, it bugs you, but it only bugs you 1 week at a month and 2 weeks out of the year.
See, that probably would have been the way to go. I got the full experience in my time in, Rod. I just did the 1 4-year enlistment, but I was deployed to Japan. I was deployed to Afghanistan. I was gone more than I was home. And it was great, right? You sign up to see the world, got to do that, got to experience a lot of things. Going to Japan was really cool. Afghanistan was, that was an experience, I guess, is the way to put it, right? We both, that's the way to describe it. But it was a lot of fun, and obviously, great to serve the country and do that part. But I was glad to get out after 4 years, and now I'm fat and have a beard, like most veterans. So it's great.
Obviously, neither one of us went to the academy because both of us were smarter than that and didn't go the officer route. I know.
Sometimes I wonder,
sir, if you're out there, I'm an E7. There's just a whole officer thing. I love you all to death, but you got to know that the NCOs are the backbone of the entire military. So, I love you. I love you, respect you, cheer for you on the field, and we'll salute you every single day. But you know who the real powerhouse is behind the military. So, look, we love the academies. We love being able to watch the games, and we love being able to root for the folks that will be out there on the battlefield leading the way for wars to come and for peacetime to come, whatever the case may be. Just the simple fact that these guys are out there and not only going through what they go through to become officers, but to play football on top of that's huge.
Yeah, these are some of the more badass guys in the world, right? And it's the one time you can, well, not the one time because other academies play sometimes, I guess, football, Rod. Nobody really cares about them, but where you can look at this game and be like, okay, everybody in this football game on this football field willing to die for your freedom and all of that. So it is, it just has that extra meaning, which is great. This one can be played in Yankee Stadium, of course. So, we had the traditional playing in Philadelphia, but now it's like I think it's 5 different places are going to be moving it around. And actually, I think that's pretty sweet. And you'll get some different crowds. And historic Yankee Stadium, obviously, a great place to play.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. If you don't know, it is, of course, Saturday. It is going to be at 12 o'clock p.m. I think that's my time. So that's 3 o'clock your guys' time. So you got some time to get in and, kind of settle in and get your popcorn ready and have some fun with it. So actually, this isn't played at Yankee Stadium. This is actually be played in Landover. They're going to play it in Northwest.
You told me it was going to be played at Yankee Stadium, Ron. Jeez,
No, I think I got
guess I should have looked for myself.
I may have said Yankee Stadium because I think I heard it on TV, but I dig deeper and it was actually in where DC plays, where the Commanders play. So
there you go.
Yeah, Northwest Stadium in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so it's essentially a home game for Navy then. Let's go.
It is essentially a home game for Navy. But, yeah, I mean, look, obviously we know that the Cadets play in West Point and the Navy plays in Annapolis, which is in Maryland. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of fun, a lot of great stories up and down the field. You know that these guys, they hate each other in the confines of the football field, but yet when they get off, they know that eventually, because look, when I served with plenty of other services. I served alongside. In fact, I was stationed at a naval base for the first 6 months of my Army career, for the most part, after basic training. So, I mean, I didn't even get a taste of what the Army was like until I was almost a year in to the Army.
Yeah, I spent a good portion of my time with other services as well. We spent a lot of times with the Marines, which, if you don't know, the Marines, Navy is all part of the same branch. So on our side a little bit, but we got the Marines playing football along with us, Rod. But yeah, we spent a lot of time with the Army, especially over when we were in Afghanistan. Obviously, not a ton of Navy in the middle of the desert. So yeah, we spent a lot of time with the Army and other countries too, which was actually a really neat experience. Got to really know some Jordanian people randomly. Was one of the people we were hooked up with a lot. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was indeed. All right, so let's set up this game a little bit before we jump right into it. Army, American Conference champions at 11-1. Their only blemish comes off of the heels of that. Did they play Notre Dame? I know Notre Dame played, but I know that they very much tried to play Notre Dame. 49-14 was the only loss. Had the nation's longest winning streak for a while, 13 games that they'd won over the course of the last couple of seasons. I don't know what Bryson Daily had to do to get in the conversation and to actually be invited to sit down alongside the rest of the Heisman guys to get there, because look, I get it that guy out of Boise, I can't even say that word. Boise State, as a Fresno State fan, I can't stand Boise State, but I don't know. I get it that he was a running back and that he had all this fantastic accolades, but Bryson Daily as a quarterback had as many rushing touchdowns as him and threw touchdown passes as well. Like what did he have to do, Cody, to get a nod from these guys? He was fifth in consideration. That's bullshit.
Yeah, well, it does seem like the Service Academy players just don't, which is weird because obviously we have hold this game in such high respect and everything, but it's like, oh, well, he plays for Army, like, well, maybe that should be more impressive because again, like, yes, they still recruit and everything, but you got to sort of sign up to be in the military if you're going to play in one of these schools. So you're not just getting everyone, right? And that's what, we a lot of times see. They don't have the bigger offensive linemen and even defensive linemen like other schools do, because you still have to be physically fit and in shape. And yeah, so it's impressive when these guys have good seasons. And he had a hell of a season. Maybe if they could have kept that game a little closer versus Notre Dame, who knows? They might be talking about Army in the college football playoffs. I think that was probably the only thing that really maybe held them back from that. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him invited and be that. I mean, we've had 5 people go to that before. Why couldn't we invite a 5th person again? I don't know. Bryson
Daily, 264 carries, 1,400 yards, 29 touchdowns as a quarterback. And then on top of that, he had 877 yards, 8 touchdown passes as an Army quarterback. Like this,
that's even more impressive.
That's what I'm saying. Like almost 1,000 yards in passing. That's almost unheard of in an Army quarterback. So sorry, soapbox over. I feel like he got snubbed, and that's just unfair for Bryson Daily. We'll talk more about him in a little bit. The Midshipmen, 8-3. 3rd place in the American Conference. They finished 6-2 in the conference, 8-3 overall. Unfortunately, they also lost to Notre Dame, so that's a wash there, but lost to Rice and Tulane, who Army ended up beating for the championship there as well. But yeah, I mean, a good season overall for Navy. And in fact, there was talks at the beginning of the season that this was going to be an Army-Navy championship match in the Atlantic, and then play the Army-Navy game the week after.
That would be, it is great, being in the same conference now, because I think we probably will see that in the future eventually, get them back-to-back weeks and have the championship on the line, then the Army-Navy game on the line. if you're able to sweep that series would be next level, right? So, yeah, Navy fell a little short. Some injuries definitely didn't help them out. I think they're going to be pretty solid this week as far as that goes. Horvath is going to play, it looks like, which is really good news for Navy because going to need every bit of what he's able to do, and he's a guy we're going to be talking about here in a bit as well. But, yeah, just a little disappointing based on where expectations were. Overall, not a bad season, and you said at the top of the show, Rod, beat Army, and it's a great season. That's the only thing that matters.
Yep, it doesn't. Like I said, if it doesn't matter if you've won one game all season long, and that was the Army-Navy game, that is the one that matters in the end. All right, we'll start talking about some bets. Which, by the way, God bless you, because I remember last year we were looking for bets and we barely found. I mean, we found some, we found a bunch, but like now we got player props, we got some all kinds of great stuff out there.
Well, okay, Horvath is playing. Maybe we could get some player props out for him. That'd be nice. Thanks.
I wonder about that. We'll talk about that in a second.
We'll address.
We'll break it all down. We'll address. But let me tell you first about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all of sports. You can win up to 1,000 times with Underdog streaks. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, even this Army-Navy game. There is so much more out there as well. You can also use specials and boosts on all of your flex entries. I'm going to be using mine on a Bryson Daily pick. So stay tuned to the socials. I'm going to give you that one when I put out my video. So stay tuned for that. Sign up with our promo code. In the meantime, race SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code race SGPN. We're brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sports book available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities, and they're all available on Rebet. Easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sports books may be restricted or are, like us, California. Anyways, download Rebet in the App Store. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Reboot, promo code SGPN. Well, then, it is, like we said, the Army-Navy game.
Quickly on the Underdog part of things, Rod. Underdog does have some Army-Navy stuff up. Yes, not everything yet, right? Though they should have more by the time kickoff comes. But Alex Texa, who we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, Rod, I am very higher on him this week, a.k.a. give me his higher than 31.5 rushing yards because, as we'll talk about in a few, he's going to have a lot more rushing yards than that.
I love it. Yeah, I love that they're actually giving us a bunch of them too. I'm totally on board with that. So I'm looking forward to laying out some in my video. I'm not giving any out right now, but I'll give them out on the video for sure.
There you go.
All right. So 11-1 Army taking on 8-3 Navy. We are going to give you our picks as we do every single week. So Cody, where are we starting off our Army-Navy betting card?
Yes, Rod. Well, you might notice a theme for both of us. I'm probably going to be a little heavier on the Navy side of things. Rod's going to be a little heavier on the Army side of things for obvious reasons. But that being said, we obviously research our picks just like we do with NASCAR. And look, we don't just cover NASCAR, obviously. If you listen to the podcast, this is the NASCAR podcast. We talk about that a lot. But if you've paid any attention to us outside of that, Rod and I write for many NFL things, other football things, lacrosse. You were writing, was it Counter-Strike earlier today?
Oh, no. I got a Call of Duty. I've got a Call of Duty.
That's what it was. Yes, yeah. Call of Duty article out. So, don't think that we can't pick other sports, Rod, especially Army and Navy. So let's kick the Navy flavor off first, Rod, with Eli Heidenreich, I believe is how you say it, or Heidenreich, I think is how you say his name. I'm going to take him. So he's he's a running back, wide receiver, wide back, whatever you want to kind of call him, but plays both running back, but also catches a fair. When I say catches a fair amount, I mean it's Navy. They don't throw the ball a ton, but he does catch some passes, Rod. So I'm going to go over Bet365 has his combination rushing and receiving yards at 68.5. I'm going to take the over on that at -115. This guy, and I was going to target his rushing yards, and I was like, oh boy, I could target his receiving yards, but putting them together, I think, is the way to go because he's had a lot of occasions this season where he either goes off for both or he really goes off one or the other. So that's one of those times when you can play both, right? You're covered if he gets there just in rushing. You're covered if he gets there just in receiving. You're covered if it is a combination. last year in this Army-Navy game. He had 56 receiving yards on just 4 catches too. So some pretty big runs on those catches, Rod, which is great. Didn't have any rushing yards, so it wouldn't have gone over this total, but that's all right because he's going to do so this season. 7 of the 11 Navy games this season, he went over that total. In 7 times, he went over the number in just one category. So 7 times this season, he went over 68.5 combined yards in 7 games. But 7 times in just one category, whether it was rushing or receiving, he went over the number, including a couple of massive receiving games earlier on the season. So I like that for Eli Heidenreich to go over his combined 68.5 rushing and receiving. And then if you're not able to get both, I would take his over on the rushing yards because I think that, and we'll talk more about this in a bit, but I think the Navy's going to slow things down and keep it to a lot of more rushing than throwing the ball.
So I feel like that's a great way to tackle any of these players, to be honest with you, especially the rushing and receiving, because you don't know. I mean, you never know. And I'm going to talk about a guy in a little bit that is capable, very capable of stretching the field for the Army, but he's just as capable of taking that same explosiveness and running a jet sweep all the way to the house, or even a pitch back to the house. I guess jet sweep would still count as a pass. But, you know, if you took a rushing yards on the guy and he caught a jet sweep and broke it for 75 yards and you're like, ah, damn, that was a pass, not a run. You know, these guys, they are hybrid players to the T. So I think getting their rushing.
Yeah, just like both of the style for both of these teams. And like you said, like good to highlight for both of them is they can do both, right? It is a lot of rushing, but sometimes it's even just a swing pass and then he's able to take it. And you see that a lot, even in the NFL. You get certain types of players, like guys like Aaron Jones. It's like he could hit it really either way, because even though, yeah, you're not going to throw the ball 40 yards to him most of the time. You can throw it to him 3 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but it's still a forward pass and he takes it 40 yards. That's what you're going to get with these types of guys that are able to do that. So it may end up being more like a rushing play, but it counts as receiving yards. This is how you don't get screwed on, oh, he had a 200-yard day, but it was all rushing and nothing receiving, and you had the receiving instead of the rushing, or vice versa. So, yeah, I think that's a great way. Obviously, the number's going to be bigger that way, but a good way to cover yourself, because these guys have the ability to break off big plays, and I think we will see some of those in this game.
Speaking of breaking off big plays, I'm targeting the quarterback, the Heisman snub of Bryson Daily for the Army. This guy came in a couple of seasons ago when they were trying to rebuild the entire identity, I suppose, of the Army offense. Obviously, you take away the chop blocking rule and you have to figure out a different way to run the triple option. So they came out and they were like, all right, well, we're going to reinvent the triple option. Kind of didn't, it worked, and then it didn't, and then it really didn't work after a while. And so they Monken went back and said, look, we got to take this thing back to the basics. We got to concentrate on the run. We got to concentrate on running with the quarterback. We got to concentrate on the things that makes Army football strong. Yeah, we have to adapt to the new rules, but we still got to go back to what makes us good. And they did that, and then they started ripping off wins, right? That 13-game win streak was huge and a part of that rebuild of the rebuild of the Army offense. And Bryson Daily was the reason that this thing worked, because this guy, I want to take a shot every time they keep saying he's a fullback playing quarterback, because then I'd get drunk and I wouldn't be able to watch the rest of the game. But they sure love to harp on the fact that he's a fullback playing quarterback. And it's really yes, it's a definitely great analogy, because he just doesn't avoid contact. He'll run right at you. He does all kinds of things, but he can pass the ball too, which is why I'm taking Bryson Daily 1 or more passing touchdowns on DK. He doesn't throw for a lot of touchdowns. He threw for 8, but like I said, if that's the Army, it might as well be 800. And he's done so in 3 straight games between Tulsa, UAB, and East Carolina. That was a 3-game stretch that he did throw a touchdown. Now, he's only thrown 1 touchdown in the last couple of games. He didn't throw one last week. He didn't need to throw one last week against Tulane, but he did throw one against UTSA. Now, I also say this because he did throw one in last year's Army-Navy game, so he's got a touchdown in this game in particular. And here's the thing. Everybody knows that Bryson Daily can run. That doesn't mean that they're going to try to do anything different than run, but I do know that Bryson Daily does enjoy throwing the ball. And like we just talked about here earlier, he can toss one out to Noah Short in the flat, right? That's a completed pass. And Noah Short has the capability of breaking it no matter how far or how long he's got to go to take that into the house. So when he's got guys like Noah Short out there, Reynolds out there, that he can complete a short pass to, that can take it the rest of the way, he doesn't need to throw the deep ball. And again, that's what we've seen a lot of these. Daly's attempted 78 passes at all this season, right? I mean, UTSA was the most that he's ever thrown the ball in a game. 17 attempts for Bryson Daily. You might as well have just, chalked that up to an actual game that normal quarterbacks play, but 10 of 17 for 190 yards and a touchdown in that game with a long of 41. So he's capable. That's what I'm saying. He's 100% capable. And for him at plus money to just complete a pass to any receiver, it doesn't matter what it is, short, Reynolds, doesn't matter. Like even Udo on a swing pass, it doesn't matter. I don't care how he gets there. I just think he's going to get there at least once. So give me Bryson Daily, one or more passing touchdowns, plus 130. You can find that over on DK.
I don't know, Rod. I think that if you look at his 2 passing touchdowns, it's like 9-1. And so I think that, so is this, he just has to throw 1 to hit this,
Just
right?
has to throw 1.
Okay. So then you're good. Never mind. I was thinking it had to be more than 1, but just 1. Yeah, I do think, we'll get into it in a bit, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Like I mentioned before, I think Navy's going to slow it down, but he's been pretty solid. So I could definitely see him throwing a passing touchdown.
But the problem with trying to slow it down against Army is that they know that you're going to want it, because they always say the possessions are at a premium. And this year, it's not so much. I mean, look, these guys try to slow it down against Army, and Army just takes advantage.
We'll get it.
Yeah, we will. We will. Okay. Let's talk about first, as we start to set up the rest of our bets, MyBookie. I want to tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie. In fact, we're going to give you some of our favorite picks from MyBookie here about this game. MyBookie AG. MyBookie has been running with SGPN for years. You can check out their new and improved website, which, by the way, looks fantastic on mobile. Plus, they got props for every game and the live dealer casino. You even get new early cash out options. Again, we're going to give you a couple of our favorite bets on MyBookie here in just a second, so hang tight. You can head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN, for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. You can get predictions on betting for money lines, spreads, totals, props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. You can also track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm has it all. You want to try to build yourself out a model to see how many rushing yards Bryson Daily is going to have by the end of this? Do so. And then, of course, follow your heart, follow the research, follow Rhythm into the books, and place that bet. You can claim yourself a day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Where to next, Cody, on the betting train?
Yes, Rod. Next for me, I am going to go to our friends over at MyBookie, Rod. They have got the highest scoring quarter to be the fourth quarter at plus 248, and they have the highest scoring half to be the second half at plus 112. This market caught my eye. I wanted to look into it, and I've sort of seen a pretty good trend that does show the second half, especially, and even the fourth quarter tends to be the higher scoring ones in these games. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? These are two military schools, and they are going in and they're feeling each other out. They're seeing what the opponent does, learning how to attack, and then being able by the end of the game to attack better. So, I'm not giving this out, but I wouldn't mind like first half unders, I think would be a good way to go as well, because I think that the first half is going to be lower scoring. They're going to be feeling each other out. By the end of the game, that's when we're going to see them start to sort of duke it out a little bit more. So going back over the last couple of seasons, Rod, last year, 10 points in the second quarter, but 18 points scored in the fourth quarter. So again, you got less points in the first half, more points in the second half. 2022, also 10 points in the second quarter. Then you had 3 points in the fourth quarter, but 17 points in overtime. Obviously, multiple overtimes helps that number go up a good bit. In 2021, everything was in the first quarter, basically. So that one kind of an outlier, throwing that out, right? But in 2020, only 3 points in the second quarter. The other 12 points in the fourth quarter. There were only 15 points even scored in that game. But again, all of them came in the fourth quarter, basically. Go back to 2018 as well. 7 in the first quarter, but then 17 in the fourth quarter. So pretty good sample size over the last couple of seasons. And again, looking at it from the view of they're going to feel each other out. They're going to see what things are working, what things aren't. And just much like a battle plan or something like that, turn it around, find their opponent's weakness, because that's what we do in the military, right? And learn to attack that. By the fourth quarter, you're going to see the scoring step up a little bit. So highest scoring quarter specifically to be the fourth at plus 248. The second half to be the highest scoring half at plus 112. You could easily hit both of these, or at least the second half one I think will definitely come in. So plus 112 for the second half, plus 248 for the first half. And those are both over on MyBookie. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN.
So I, first of all, nice product placement there. And I will say too, that Army does not allow a lot of early scoring. And so to me, this is exactly the right pick because, Army first drives, they tend to score on their first drives and they don't allow their opponents to score on first drives. In fact, they barely allow their opponents to score at all, to be honest with you. Really, if you look outside of Notre Dame, most of the teams can't break 14 points. East Carolina got to 28 against them. That was probably the highest scoring guy or highest scoring team against the thing. And then UTSA scored 24 as well. So only 2 teams have even topped 20 points outside of Notre Dame. I'm throwing that game out if you haven't noticed, by the way. Other than that, it's a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. And so, yeah, for Army, they don't allow a lot of early scoring. And in fact, with their drives being the way they are, it usually takes them a couple of quarters to get fully into it. And so I think your handicapping there is right on for this one. And, like you said, this could be a lower scoring game. Obviously, historically, it's definitely been a lower scoring game because these guys, 17-11 last week or last season, 2017, the season before that, 17-13, 15-0, 31-7 in 2019, but 17-10, 14-13, 20. You get the point. They're not a lot of scoring in this game, regardless of how the offenses have done up until that point. So I'm with you on that one as well. All right, I'm going to turn my attention to one of the running backs of this game, and that's Kanye Udo. He is this guy. I mean, when you talk about Army halfbacks, right, or you talk about Army fullbacks, or however you want to label these guys, because they're all a whole bunch of different stuff. Kanye Udo, last year we had Jacoby Buchanan, and Jacoby Buchanan was known for getting at least a yard no matter when he touched the ball. Like, it doesn't matter how many times. He had a streak of, I can't remember it right now, but it was like tons of carries where he never lost a yard. He was always gaining at least 1 yard on these carries. But with Udo, like, there's a possibility that he literally loses yards. But this dude is just as strong and powerful, maybe not as big as Buchanan, but this guy will explode through the line. And, for Army football, if you've watched for any length of time, you know that 3 yards on a cloud of dust is how it was played and how it's been played a lot. But these guys are ripping off chunk plays, and these guys have been just deadly with the ball every single time they touch it. And so for Kanye Udo, he's averaging 6.4 yards per carry this season, which, again, for an Army back, that's pretty big, because if you can get 6 yards on first down, if you hand off to Kanye Udo, you're going to get to the end zone each and every time, because the guy just continues to get you first downs. He's gone over the 80-yard mark in 5 games so far this season, which, again, is a remarkable feat, because that's just the way this is. He can break off huge runs. He's got longs of 42, 40, 72 that he ripped off against Tulane. He had 158 yards against Tulane. That is just insanity. And honestly, again, it doesn't matter how the rushing defense that they're going up against is, because that's just what they do. They will hand the ball to Udo. They will give him the opportunity. I know that Bryson Daily gets a ton of love, and that he's going to continue to get a ton of love. But even still, I mean, for Udo, 20 carries against Tulane. He got 13 carries against UNT, 22 against Air Force, and that was a game that Daily didn't play. 19 against ECU, 17 against UAB. I mean, it's insane the amount of usage that Udo still gets, even though Bryson Daily continues to cover the ball. So I like to take the alternate here for Kanye Udo, 80 plus rushing yards. That's plus 130 over on DK, because I think he's in for another solid day carrying the ball. And I don't like the minus money on a lower number when I can take 80 plus for 130.
Unfortunately, I have to say that Navy's rushing defense is not super great, Rod. So I think that he might be able to get some numbers on the day. Hopefully he won't hit this, but you just might.
What I love about it is that neither one of us are going to give an inch. Like I don't think any of his props are going to hit, and and he doesn't think any of mine are. So we're good to go there.
Well, right. Rod, we're breaking out the ladder for this next one.
Let's go.
We're going full D-Gen on my guy, Alex Texka. He is a fullback for the Navy, Rod. Former lacrosse high school player. This is a badass dude. And I am going to take his rushing ladder, Rod. It starts at 36. So this is over on DK as well. 36 plus is 125. 40 plus is plus 160. 50 plus is plus 270. 60 plus is plus 425. 70 plus 7-1. Take me all the way up this ladder, Rod. He hit the over 36 alone in 6 games this season already. 7 games last season as well. He has 7 career games over 100 yards, including 163 and 137 yard rushing performances last season. I think that the way that Navy is going to be able to stay in this game, keep it close, and have a chance to win, Rod, they have got to run the ball. They've got to slow the clock down. And what better way than to give it to your big bruising fullback, pound it up the middle. Whether it works or whether it doesn't, I think that they're going to continue to do it. He's going to have his opportunities to break free. They're going to pound the rock with him, pound the rock with him, pound the rock with him, and just try and beat this Army defense into submission. I think that he could be set for a big day. He did have 35 yards in last season's game, only a couple of rushes. Some stuff changed with their offense. I think that they're going to go more to him this season, Rod. And I think that we're going to climb this ladder. So I think you will get to that 36 mark, plus 125. Obviously, that's the main goal here. But I'm taking it all the way to 70 plus at plus 700. And then, Rod, just because I can, 2 touchdowns for this man is 22-1. Pretty good number there. So I like it as well. Again, I'm on the low scoring side of things. I don't think there's going to be a ton of touchdowns in this game. But if they get close to, if they're just pounding the rock away, get close, just keep handing it off to this guy. If he gets into the end zone early in the game, maybe he gets in later. I mean, they could score 14 points in this game, and you're still well on the under. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So 2 touchdowns at 22-1. Then what if things just go really, really well, and he falls into the end zone a third time, Rod? Oh, by the way, maybe he doesn't just fall into the end zone. Maybe he catches touchdown like he's done already before this season. 3 touchdowns and these are both, shout out to DraftKings for this, by the way, 2 touchdowns or more. So if he gets 2 touchdowns, you cash 22-1. If he gets 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, you still cash the 22-1. It's not an exactly 2, so it's 2 or more. 3 or more, Rod, 150-1. I get that it's not realistic or not super realistic, but it's not impossible. Again, if they grind down the field early in the first quarter, score it, punch a touchdown in. It's a 7-7 game going into the third quarter. Snags a touchdown late. Maybe they go to overtime. This game's gone to overtime plenty of times in the past. A third touchdown at 150-1. Are you kidding me? Got to do it. So give me taking these Alex Texka ladders all the way to the top, Rod. All the way to 70 plus rushing yards at plus 700. 3 or more touchdowns at 150-1. Let's fucking go.
No. And why? Because Army is ranked 11th in rushing defense this season.
Doesn't matter, Rod. This is the Army-Navy game. It doesn't matter. Throw out the stats. They don't matter.
No, I love it. No, good. You got to get DJ'd on this show, right? That's the way you work on this. So, best of luck to you, my friend. I don't know that that's going to happen. However, I will tell you something that will happen. If you tuned in, this is the most we'll ever disagree in our life right now. Other than on the Xfinity show, which we're contractually obliged
to. But still, that's only like 1 or 2 things usually. We don't disagree on much. But this show, we have to disagree. It was in our contracts.
It was when we initially signed up. Like when we do this show, we're gonna disagree on all of it. But all right, remember when I said Bryson Daily was gonna throw a passing touchdown? I think the person that's going to get it is Noah Short. I just talked about the fact that this dude is 1,000% quick. When he first kind of got on the scene, right? When the very first time that I saw him this season, at least, because last season it wasn't much because he wasn't used very much. He had 3 receptions all season long last year, so there wasn't much to talk about with Noah Short. So he jumps on the scene this year and against Lehigh grabs himself a touchdown pass and all of a sudden has 8 catches for 83 yards in the very first game of the year for Army. And you're like, who is this guy and where the hell did he come from? Because I'm telling you right now, this is not the kind of Army. This is not your grandfather's Army squad. And then it was like I said, Noah Short catching or getting into the end zone on a 3-yard run for sure. But again, it was just a matter of him being there, and you were like, wait, what the heck? I'm sorry, rushing 8 for 83 rushing, not receiving. He had a catch for 6 yards, but even still, for Noah Short, he came on. He was fast, right? He was doing the things that you were expecting an outside receiver to do, which is what he's technically is. And yet here he is. He listed as a running back, but they use him so much as a receiver that, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
this is
the thing. In this game, Rod, the actual listed position almost doesn't even matter. Like, how often do you have a fullback that can run for 163 yards? Never. But the guy that I was just talking about can do that because he's technically a fullback in their offense, but these guys are all much like the military requires you to be. We're all positionless, Rod. You got to go where you're needed.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a Swiss Army knife for them. But like I said, so he went out there, he rushed 8 times for 83 yards on a touchdown. But the speed is really what turned everybody's head. It didn't matter how he got it; it was just there. And he's been that way ever since, right? He's got 65 carries and he's got 16 receptions, which, like I said, 16 receptions on a team that doesn't throw the ball very much is fantastic. 313 yards. He's got 3 receiving touchdowns so far this season. He hasn't had one since Tulsa way back in the day in October. But like I said, this game's so much different when you start talking about how to approach it. And for guys like Noah Short, I mean, he's explosive every time he touches the ball. All he's got to do is touch it once. And maybe, like I said, on one of those little motions where it's a little pitch out to him in front of Bryson Daily, and then he'll take it the rest of the way home. So I feel like, again, one of the leading receivers that's an actual running back, because it's him and Casey Reynolds. Casey Reynolds is the actual receiver on this team. 18 receptions, 426 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But Casey Reynolds has been relatively quiet as of late as well. In fact, he hasn't had a receiving touchdown since UAB back in October. So, or a touchdown in general since UAB. So both of these guys are relatively quiet, but I think if one guy is going to break out in this particular game, it's going to be Noah Short. Give him a receiving touchdown in this game at +160 over on DraftKings.
I hope he doesn't have any touchdowns, Rod. And a part of him not having any touchdowns, I think, is the under in this game. Under 39, -110. My bookie has this, -110 for the under 39. Under 39 seems to be the consensus most places, Rod. I'm going to read to you the scores of previous Army-Navy games. Stop me when I get to a game that's gone over 39 points. Last season, Rod, the total was 28. 2022, 37. 2021, 30. 2020, 15. 2019, 38. Still not over 39. 2018, 27. 2017, 27. 2016, 38. 2015, 38. 2014, 27, 2013, Rod, a Navy ass whooping 34-7. 41 points were scored in that game. That was the last time. 2013, it is 2024, if you were not aware. 2013, and they do play this game every year, including 2020. 2013 is the last time that one of these games went over 39. Oh, but this Army offense, Rod. Oh, but doesn't fucking matter. These guys are going to pound it out. They're going to slow it down. It doesn't ever matter how good one of these teams is, how bad one of these teams is, how electric these players are. They are going to slow each other down, and we are not going to get there it gets to overtime, maybe that's when it goes over. Sure, that could be what happens, but it doesn't happen in this game very often. 11 of the last 12 Army-Navy games have gone under 39 points. I think that's going to be the case yet again this weekend. 39 seems like a big number when, a lot of these, 28, 27, a lot, some 15s in here. Like, you just don't. And even the high-scoring games were 37, 38 points. You're still not getting to the 39 number. I think this is going to be, and I think that Navy has to, from the Navy side of things, and if Navy's going to have a chance, they have got to slow this game down as much as possible. And if I were the one game planning for this, I would be doing everything possible to make this game as slow as we possibly can, because if you get Army going, we know what Army can do. And but this is a big game. Everybody's going to show up. Everybody's going to be playing at the top of there's no sleeping on this and looking forward to the bowl, or again, we said at the top of the show, they could both be 0-47 on the season. It doesn't matter. This game means everything to everyone. And I think both teams show up and slow each other down. And I think that is going to go under 39. So give me that at -110.
It's tough because you're right. This is one where you do have to sort of go
you
outside.
agree with me. Did you hear that? Rod basically just said go Navy.
No, not even close. But the only thing that gives me pause, though, is we've seen this Army team explode. They had a 4-game stretch in which it's
against Navy.
No, but against everybody.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
I know.
It doesn't matter what they do.
I know it doesn't matter. But Army
in this game, they don't explode. Nobody explodes.
This is true.
It just stays quiet and it stays calm, and it's the ultimate slug it out game each and every single time.
But do you know why, too? And it's because both when Army and Navy play other teams that run those pro-style offices or the college-style offices, right? They're prone to quick 3-and-outs if the Army and Navy defenses can get those 3-and-outs, so they get the ball right back. And so that's why they can put up gigantic numbers, because of possessions. And they say, well, possessions are at a premium, but because nobody tries to slow it down against them and play the same sort of possession game. Yeah. And that's what they do.
That's the really big thing, right? Is they play Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not changing their style of play, but these two teams have the same old school football style of play, and it is run the ball, the clock keeps moving, and it slows the game way down.
It does indeed, which is why I am taking the Army spread at the half. BetMGM is giving this at even money, +100 for the spread at the half, -3.5. Army started out the season up by a touchdown, or 2 touchdowns rather, over Lehigh. So covered that one against Lehigh. They covered it against FAU the week after. They covered it against Rice the week after that. Stop me if I've gotten to a point where they haven't. Oh, they did it against Temple after that. Then they did it against Tulsa after that. Look, they have done this almost every single game in which they participated in. UAB, they did it. ECU, they did it. And this is every single game that they've gotten to so far. In fact, they did it against Air Force, another service academy, right? A 20-3 grinded out game, if you want to talk about that. They did it against UNT, or North Texas, they did it against, where they got 4 points. Notre Dame, a little different story, but that was Notre Dame. We're throwing that one out, right? And then they did it against UTSA, actually, and that was a tightly contested game, but they were up. Actually, no, they didn't do it against UTSA. I'm sorry. I can't add. 13-10 is what they did. So they got hooked there. But then did it against Tulane after that. Twice this season. Only two times this season that they have not covered a 3.5-point spread at the half. And you're getting this at even money. I absolutely love this. And like you said, this game will probably be very, very close. It could be a touchdown game at the half, or it could be a 7-3 game at the half if it really is that slow, and one team gets a field goal, Navy, and then the Army gets in to the end zone for the touchdown, Bryson Daily, and then you're sitting at a 3.5-point lead going into the half, a 4-point lead going into the half, covering the spread.
Yeah, it's going to be hard if nobody scores in the first half to be up by 4, Rod. Which I'm going to go back to my last bet under 39 points. And I'm going to add officially, Rod, first half under 20 on my bookie at -110. Abso-fucking-lutely. I already made the point earlier how the second half is going to be higher scoring. I think the game's going to still be under 39 points. So give me the first half under 20 as well. And it's going to be hard for Army to cover that if nobody scores in the first half. That's the good thing is Navy will begin the game already covering that. Just got to slow it down and keep Army out of the end zone, Rod. Not a problem. It usually works that way for them. So I do think touchdowns will eventually be scored in this game, though, Rod. And so that brings us to the first touchdown, which I'm going to take notes from the big show, right? If you listen to the Sports Gambling Podcast, they like to give out 4 guys. You take a unit, you split it up 4 ways. However you want to do it is fine. And so I'm going to do so, Rod. They also have a policy. Sometimes Kramer cheats on the policy, but they have a policy where they don't pick Dallas Cowboys at first touchdown in Dallas Cowboy games. I have a policy, Rod. I don't pick Army Black Knights to score first touchdown. So I have 4 Navy first touchdowns for you because Navy's going to score first in this game anyways, and they're going to reach the end zone. I'm going to start with the guy, Blake Horvath, the starting quarterback for the team. He is going to play, Rod. He said he was going to play, and, there's no props on him. Underdog doesn't have projections or anything yet. I was hoping whatever his rushing is, I like that as well because I think that he's going to have a solid day. But he's got 13 rushing touchdowns this season, Rod, and I think that he could easily get another one here. So 6-1 for him. They're going to put the ball in his hands. This guy wants to be a pilot when he gets out of the Naval Academy, Rod. That's pretty badass. He's a tough guy. Going to show up. Going to have a good day. 6-1 first touchdown for him. Tex, look, I already said he's going to get 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 70-plus rushing yards. Let's add the first touchdown on there too, Rod, at 12-1. 7 rushing touchdowns this season. Also has 2 receiving touchdowns. Ends up being, they split that little fullback out, get the ball to him, gets the touchdown. Nathan Kent. So those were both over on DraftKings. So there's a lot of different places have different odds. So Horvath was on DraftKings, 6-1 is the best place. Texa, 12-1 on ESPN Bet was the best place. Back over on DraftKings for Nathan Kent at 28-1. This is a wide receiver, Rod. He's only got 8 catches on the season, but 2 of those have been for touchdowns. He only has 2 rushes on the season, but 1 of those was for a touchdown. This could be the type of thing. Grind the ball out. Teska runs it down the field. Horvath runs it down the field. They get there. You fake the handoff. Oop, Kent slips out. There he is. You dump it over to him. First touchdown, 28-1. Doesn't get the ball a lot, but when he does, he's very explosive, and they like to hit him for touchdowns. And then, Rod, Shane Reynolds, another fullback, because this is the Navy. We like our fullbacks. 50-1. This is like the backup tight end thing for Sean and Ryan on first touchdowns, right? This is the backup fullback, 50-1. Let's fucking go. Give me Shane Reynolds, first touchdown. Horvath, the quarterback, 6-1. Teska, 12-1. Kent at 28-1. And Reynolds, 50-1. And Reynolds is over on ESPN for his 50-1 as well.
It's sad because Army doesn't allow first touchdowns. It
doesn't have to be the first drive, Rod. It could be later, and it doesn't matter when it is.
I'm just saying
the Navy's going to get it, so that's what matters.
Army scores first in almost every single game that it's ever been in, so I hate it for you, bud. It's
ever been in.
Yeah, ever. At all time. Like, I'm looking at stats right now that say Army always scores first. So I'm sorry, bud. It's just not happening.
Those are great stats you got there.
I love
those sound like Army stats to me.
You know what they are? They're handwritten stats that I wrote by myself. I was like, Army scores every time, everywhere. Speaking of scoring,
definition of facts is pretty loose these days. So that's fine.
Do you know what kind of world we live in now? If Twitter says it, it's true, right? All right. Speaking of scoring, Army's going to score, and they're going to score often. They're going to score 3 touchdowns at the very least in this game. So give me Army over 2.5 total touchdowns. Plus 105 over on DK. Army has scored at least 3 touchdowns in 9 of their games this season. They didn't do it against Notre Dame, obviously. They didn't do it against UTSA, and they didn't do it against Air Force. But I'm telling you right now,
they couldn't do it against Air Force, and they're going to do it against Navy, Rod.
Hey, guess who was not?
Did I tell you the Marines play with us? Did you know that?
Guess who was not playing an Air Force game? Oh, yeah, Bryson Daily. Guess who is playing in this game? Oh, yeah, Bryson Daily. So I'm not worried. That Air Force game, you can kind of toss it out. The fact that we won with our backup quarterback and essentially like 95% of our rushing offense gone, then I think we're still good to go. But, yeah, listen, I mean, Army, like I said, they can put up points in bunches. Now, I get it that this is a different game. I know that we always tend to lean on the under. This is a special Army team. And this is one where they don't always have to put together 16, 18 play drives to get in the end zone. They can get in 4 or 5 plays now with just the right type of guy. And all we're doing is 21 points. That still kind of puts the under in play if you're doing it right, because the Navy's going to lose anyway. So if they only score 1 touchdown and the Army scores 21, 3 touchdowns, then that means that you're at 28 points and you're still in the under. So you're good there too. But Army's done this 9 times this season. They have put up at least 3 touchdowns on the board. I think they have.
How many times have they done it against Navy, though, Rob? That's the question.
What is it? It doesn't matter how many times they've done it against Navy. I don't care how many times they've done it against Navy. They've done it this year, and they're going to do it a lot. And I think that, 3 touchdowns for the Army, plus 105. DK's giving us a good price on this one.
I'm going to say, if you're playing DraftKings lineups for this DFS, I'd be making sure you get those kickers in there, Rod, because a lot of these points are going to come on field goals, not touchdowns, so I don't like this play. But that brings us to the end of the card, Rod. I wonder who we will have covering the spread / winning this game. I guess we could tell the people, huh?
Well, I think you're going to mispronounce Army wrong, so go ahead.
Well, Rod, the spread is 6.5 on this, so of course I'm going to take the Navy side minus 108. But the bet that I like a little bit more over on DraftKings is Navy to win by 1 to 6 points at 5-1, Rod. Sure, you could just bet Navy on the money line at, I think it's like plus 210 or something like that. That's great. But if Navy is able to win this game, the way that they're going to do it is it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a 3-point, maybe a 6-point win. I just don't see it being much more than that. So getting that 1 to 6 point win, 5-1, I really like the value of that. And if they do beat them by more than that, I won't care about this bet because Navy will have killed the Army, and that's what's going to be great, Rod. So, but I think that Navy to cover as well at 6.5. Look, if you look at these two teams and their seasons and what Army's accomplished, it is, you look at it and you're like, man, this Army team is good. And I'm not saying that they're not, but again, when it comes to the Army-Navy game, you throw out everything. It doesn't matter how good one team has been and how bad one team has been. There's been some matchups where it was, 3-9 versus 9-3, and it's still a close game. It still comes down to the end. This is going to be a 1-score game at the end. If the 1 score is a full touchdown and 7 points, then Army's going to cover and take the win. Okay. But I think it's going to be closer than that. I think it's going to be a field goal or 2, even 2 field goals. Again, 6 points. If Army's able to win, it's not going to be by much. And so Navy's still going to cover at 6.5. I think that they set this. I think that they were scared to make it any smaller because of how good Army's been, which is great for us because, it doesn't matter how good they've been when it comes to this game. But they also knew better than to put it over a touchdown because, well, this game just doesn't really get to that point ever. So, yeah, give me Navy to cover 6.5, and then Navy to win by 1 to 6 points at 5-1. I think is a great alternative to getting in on the money line. Take the money line too if you want to. Obviously, if they win by more than 6, then this bet won't cash. But if they do win, I don't see this being. This game goes 2 ways, in my opinion. It's either a really close game or Army wins by a good amount. I don't think the Navy's going to come in and just blow Army out in this game because I'm not completely unrealistic, Rod, despite what you might think. So I think that it's going to be a close one.
You don't have blue digicolored glasses, and that's okay. We definitely appreciate your objectiveness.
Right.
No,
this outfit, right, that I wear.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. No, listen, I'm telling you, you look fantastic. Like I'm getting flashbacks to the old school blue digi days out there when I was at the naval base. But all right, well, I'm going the opposite direction. And you only pay the juice if you lose, and you're not losing this game.
Shocking.
Army minus 6.5. They're 8-3 against the spread so far this season. They have in every game that they've won this season, which is 11 of them, they have covered this spread. The only time that they didn't cover the spread is the game they lost. And they even covered it against Air Force when they didn't have, like I said, 95% of their rushing offense. They
How many of those games were against Navy?
Cody, you're going to keep saying that, but I got to handicap it somehow, don't I?
Because it matters, Rod. It matters.
It actually does. But I will say that this is a game. This is a game in which I think that, like you said, it can go one of 2 ways. And I feel like it's going to go the other way. I feel like Army is going to come in and look, they may not hang 40 on him. I'm not going to say that they're going to hang 40 on him, but I think at least a 28 game, a 24 game, right? And I do believe that the Army defense is so tough. Hardly anybody scored more than 2 touchdowns against these guys all season long. It's just been that tough. And if we're talking about limited possessions anyways, then this game is going to be decided by a touchdown at the very least, because I know that it's going to come down to who probably may have the ball second to last, right? Because how it is, but I still feel like this is going to be at least a touchdown game, because Army, that's the way they played all season long. And I get it. I know we tend to love to lean on the throw it all out, but sometimes you can't throw something like that out, especially on a team coached by Jeff Monken, that this is what they've been gearing up for all season long. Not to say that they overlook any other opponent that's out there. Obviously they don't, because they're 11-1, but when you walk on cobblestones every single day that say beat Navy, and you've beaten everybody else that you've been up against this season except for Notre Dame, you're going to go out there and you're going to beat Navy, and you're going to be fired up to do it. You starve a dog long enough. I'm sure Michael Vick knows this. And you let it out. It wants to eat. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to bring? It wants to eat. And I think that's what Army's been caged up. Like they know what they're after, and they're going to go eat this week. And I think that it's at least going to be by a touchdown at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. So there's that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect you to agree with me on that one. So,
but
yeah.
the great news, Rod, when it's all said and done at the end of the day, we're all back on the same team, all pulling for the same direction. And again, that's what makes this game great. We're going to hate each other for 60 minutes and then be best of friends and work side by side again going forward.
Mm-hmm. Earn the right to sing last in this one. The winning team sings their alma mater last on this game, in 125th edition, by the way, of the Army Navy game. So, it's going to be an exciting weekend. I, for one, cannot wait to watch this game, because I will actually be on drill, so I'll be with my Army buddies as we partake.
That's actually that's pretty good weekend to be on drill is with you guys. By the way, you said this is the 125th edition, Rod. For the record, Navy does lead the all-time series, 62-55. There was 7 ties too before we stopped tying in college football, which was a great idea, and all football should adopt that. But 62, 55, and 7 overall. So yeah, Navy's going to add to that lead this year, and I'm pretty excited for it.
Yes, sir. And then, of course, the honors of the uniforms. There's definitely always meaning in the uniforms that they're wearing. Navy is going to be all honoring the Jolly Rogers, so that's going to be cool. There, if you haven't seen their rebrand or their branding, you need to go check out their Twitters, because
it's
fire.
White with a little bit of blue and yellow. Oh man, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it is gorgeous. And then the Army honoring the 101st Airborne Division, which I was proud to have served in. So always love to see when they've got the patches or something that they're honoring, something that I've actually been a part of or been able to actually wear that patch as well. So I always feel like a little bit of specialness when that happens. So, and I've been in some pretty prestigious units.
These both teams' uniforms always hit hard, but these Army, the black with the what is that, matte look or whatever? It's the black versus the white. This is going to be a really, really cool looking game.
Yep, absolutely going to be great. Not as cool as the snow out in the snow globe game, but that still pretty damn cool. But all right, well then, that's all the picks we've got for you today, guys. Let's have some fun. Like we said, we both are proud. No side bets this year. I don't want to embarrass you again, because you ended up having to sing last year.
It wasn't even really singing, because I can't sing. And
that's right. You read the words to the Army alma mater. So that was
just the winner can brag next week when we return to normal programming.
And I will have all 5 minutes of my bragging. So, all right. Well then, Cody, let's send them out to place these bets and to have some fun getting ready for the only college football game this weekend, Army Navy.
Yeah, this is, again, going to be a great time, and very excited for it. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you're not a NASCAR fan and you just checked out the football picks, we appreciate it. And if you're a NASCAR fan and you stayed for this, we appreciate it as well. Back tomorrow, Rod, talking some NASCAR props once again. So, yeah, pretty excited for that.
Indeed. All right, Cody, where can they find you outside of this world?
Yes, Rod. Follow me over on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff there. Got a ton of it, including some college football playoff stuff coming up for sportsgamblingpodcast.com. All the NFL stuff over there. Still hanging strong in the I'm chasing our buddy Justin Mark, but hanging strong in the top 10 for season long against the spread picks for the NFL, which is great. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun over there. So check me out, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez and on Blue Sky at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's Sportsbook Review, still got first touchdown stuff going out for them. And then, of course, make sure you check out the Back Road. Seth and Elliott still kicking it, even without me for the time being, but I'll be back to join them soon. And then I did cover some Call of Duty League. If you really want to get deep in the weeds and bet on some Call of Duty League, there's games going on this weekend. I've got my favorite takes over there for that tournament. So have some fun going down the rabbit hole with me there. So, all right, we'll see you tomorrow with more NASCAR props. Thank you very much, everybody. Until then, let's go racing. Go Army!
Go Navy!
And let it rock.
Go Navy!
Go Army!